So the release of the highly anticipated Spider-Man No Way Home is getting closer and closer. So with the release of the trailer everyone was waiting for, the hype levels can only go up from here on out. And of course, promotions through other indirect channels are starting to piece together more of what we can expect in the movie as well. So today, we thought it would be a good idea to go over some of the things we learned about No Way Home, including how promotional images could be hinting at some pivotal plot points, how merchandise of the film could hint at the return of a familiar villain, and why the multiverse could play a bigger role in the movie than we previously thought. More on that a little bit later on in the video, but let's first dive into some of the promo images that we got. So starting things out with us today, a merchandise listing on Amazon showing artwork from No Way Home seems to be hinting at how big this movie could actually be. One of the first involves the web slinger navigating through New York. Off to the side, the Daily Bugle can be seen, and while this isn't a revolutionary new detail about the film, it's still a welcome sight to see the newspaper company featured in promotional material. I mean, after all, the trailer showed us that it will play a big role, especially towards the beginning of the movie. Seeing as it will be a big outlet that lets people know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And this will be the first time it is mentioned in such a big fashion with the Tom Holland movies. We also get a closer look at some of Spidey's new suits from images as well. And while it's exciting to see some very cool new suits teased, they seem to be teasing something much bigger. So part of the images include Peter donning the black and gold suit we saw from the Funko Pop list of figures a while back. There is also speculation that Peter is seen wearing this suit for a brief moment in the trailer, as per this shot right here. But several of the images also show that the suit offers more powers than the typical Stark enhancements we've seen in the past. A lot of what the images show ties the suit with powers similar to that of the one and only Doctor Strange, who we now know will play a huge role in the film's plot. And we might be in for a mystically trained Peter Parker as Doctor Strange teaches him some of the power that he picked up from the Ancient One. Now, while this is super cool on the surface, we have to ask ourselves, why would Strange be teaching Peter magic of this magnitude? The two will be taking a trip through the vast multiverse, and like Strange said, the multiverse is something that we know frighteningly little. So maybe the reason Peter learned some of the mystic arts is to aid the two in their fight against the potential villains hinted at in the trailer, including Doc Ock, Electro, and Green Goblin. And I mean, at the end of the day, who wouldn't love to see Spider-Man sling some magic around while swinging on some webs? And this suit is the perfect candidate, seeing as it is a super cool looking one and very contrasting to the ones we've gotten in the past. So continuing with potential plot points of No Way Home, Mysterio was a huge part of Far From Home, and it would appear that his presence could even carry over into No Way Home as well. I mean, after all, he did kind of expose Spider-Man as being Peter Parker in the final moments of the movie, and even framed his death on Spider-Man. And merchandise could even show us how his presence will continue on for the upcoming sequel. So what seems to be a t-shirt merchandise listing on Amazon shows that there could be somewhat of a divide as to who believes who. The t-shirts all bear the words, "We believe Mysterio." And while this could be fun merchandise just to promote the film, this seems like a very specific phrase that could be setting up a division within the film. Perhaps there are some people who don't quite believe Peter is responsible for Mysterio's death, almost sparking a small little group of people to potentially come to Peter's aid while he's questioned for the death of Mysterio. An interesting point and something that I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on. And Amazon listings continue to give much more away through merchandise. It isn't uncommon that we see novelized versions of movies, and No Way Home, of course, is no exception. A children's picture book, that's right, a children's picture book entitled Spider-Man's Very Strange Day was discovered among the Amazon listings and shows us that the multiverse could play a bigger part in the movie than we think. And while we can't obviously read parts from the book, the description does say the story will take Spider-Man and his friends to a whole new location full of mystery and magic just waiting to be explored. It's still to be determined exactly where Spidey and Strange will be venturing to in the multiverse exactly, but this children's book could explain a little bit more. And when this book releases, could even show us at some villains that could be coming back. Who knows? We'll only know when this book releases. With everything said and regarding merchandise, there is a pretty decent track record in terms of stuff popping up in the past, such as Lego sets which would eventually prove to be accurate when films come out. One of the more notable ones was leading up to Avengers Endgame, when we got our first look at the quantum suits the heroes would eventually wear as a part of the time heist. So it's important to take all these listings we mentioned with a grain of salt to make judgments on the content of the movie. But, as we've seen in the past, it's proven to be right plenty of times. So moving away from merchandise, we also got an interesting detail that comes from a writer for the Loki show. Michael Waldron confirmed that he was in communication with the writers for No Way Home while developing Loki. And as we know, Loki ended with Sylvie killing He Who Remains, creating a plethora of branch realities, giving birth to that infamous multiverse that you've probably heard so much about over the last few months. And throughout the show, we were introduced to the concept of variants, other versions of characters that deviated from the sacred timeline. So why is it a big deal that some writers were in communication while working on their projects, besides the obvious fact of keeping the storylines concise? There are so many characters rumored to be returning in No Way Home, including the past Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, and Jamie Foxx's Electro, just to name a few. What if, see what I did there? The reason these writers had to stay in close connection while creating their respective projects was to ensure that bringing in the characters just mentioned for No Way Home made sense in the grand scheme of things. In our past video we made on No Way Home before the trailer released, we discussed the evidence that could hint at the return of those particular characters, and this fact would definitely line up with what we have seen over the last few months. So ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for this roundup of Spider-Man and No Way Home news. Something tells us that we will have plenty more information to share as the film nears its release, but now we want to know, what are you guys expecting for the film? Is this going to be a case of overexposure leading to soaring high expectations that just can't be met? Or will all the news just pave the way for the immense success of another Spider-Man film? We would love to hear what you all have to say down in the comments below. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for today's video, and we will see you in the next one. And of course, hey, if you like virtual photography, drop me a follow over on Twitter for some pretty awesome video game screenshots and more cool things. That'll do it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video, guys. And until then, peace out.